Today we're taking a look at the Canon EF 70-200mm telephoto zoom lens. A versatile lens that could be used to photograph portraits, wildlife, sports, and pretty much anything from really far away. So a 70-200mm lens, what exactly is the purpose of having something like this in your kit or renting something like this for a project you might be working on? I have two specific examples that we're going to run through today. One is the air and water show. Two is we took it to the zoo. One of the best use cases for a lens like this is taking it to your local zoo and capturing animals since you're frequently far away and can't get too up close and personal with them, but this lens can help you. But going back to the Air and Water Show, the Air and Water Show is an annual event here in the city of Chicago, and it features a variety of stunts and performances by various pilots and parachuters, such as the US Air Force Thunderbirds, the US Army Parachute Team Golden Knights, and a handful of local pilots as well. But the main use case for a lens like this is to get up close and personal with those pilots, with those parachuters, as you see them performing their stunts. And it's to get the details on the plane, to get the pilot in the cockpit, and to show that to viewers who may otherwise not really get a chance to see that. We also have a range that we're dealing with here though. It's not simply just a prime lens that's set at a focal length of 400 meters or 800 meters and you can't change or adjust it. You have versatility here. So it's 70-200mm, which allows you to be able to pull out to 70mm, allow some unique shots here and there, where I was actually able to get some audience members in the foreground watching the plane as it soared by. And that's the versatility you get with something like the 70-200mm versus just a prime telephoto lens. It gives you options. Now moving over to the Lincoln Park Zoo. There's been a handful of times I've gone to the zoo and I have photographed the animals there, specifically using the Canon EF 75-300mm kit lens. The kit lens is a great option to use if you're on a budget, and it's actually one of the first lenses that came with the overall bundle that I bought about a decade ago. But switching to something like the 70-200mm lens, why would you do that? Why would you hold a heavier lens or go for a more expensive lens? Well, that's a key thing I noticed in some of these updated photos. I've used my kit lens time and time again when at the zoo, but using this lens, the 70-200mm, which has an f-stop of 2.8 versus the kit lens, which has an f-stop of 4 to 5.6, means I had more light at my disposal and shots that I could never get with my kit lens because we were in an interior and it was way too dark, and pushing the ISO just made it look way too messy and unusable. Now, some of these shots actually became a reality of something that I could capture. But compared to the past, where the ISO was the only adjustment I could really make, and I was at a f/5.6 and really couldn't adjust that, making the images unusable because I was pushing my camera too far, versus now getting a 2.8 and having that extra room, having that extra light paired with a higher ISO allow these images to actually be usable. This is a completely different approach to capturing some photos in some of those interiors at the zoo. And that's why you want to go with something like the 70-200mm 2.8 versus just always relying on a kit lens. Don't get me wrong, if you're using something like the kit lens, you're probably doing it for budget reasons and because it's the lens that came either with your bundle or was a cheaper option for you to buy online, and that's completely fine. Again, I have photographed the majority of my photos at the zoo have been with my kit lens, but using the 70-200mm, because I already had it, was a world of a difference, and you could really see the difference in detail and sharpness that you could get when using the upgraded, more premium version in Canon's arsenal. So we've already talked about the Canon EF 75-300mm kit lens, but there are some other options as well, like Sigma with their 60-600mm f4.5 to 6.3 DGOS HSM sports lens. Whew, that was a mouthful. This lens is also a great versatile option. You honestly can't go wrong with getting any 3 of these and using them for a project. But again, similar to the kit lens, the Sigma lens has an f-stop of 4.5 to 6.3. This means that in lower light situations, you're going to have to rely on your shutter speed and your ISO to get you more exposure. You're not going to have the versatility that the 70 to 200 millimeter at a 2.8 gives you. But don't get me wrong, the Sigma lens is still a powerhouse and can be used in a lot of different case scenarios, like photographing the moon. This photo I got a couple years ago, and the Sigma lens did great. So what lens should you buy? Honestly, I have no idea. That's completely up to you. But a better question is, what lens should you use? I did not buy the Canon 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 USM L Series 3 lens. I think that's the full name. I rented it. If there's a specific event, something like the Air and Water Show, and I have time to prepare, I'm going to take that extra effort to get the lens that's going to give me the best results. And the 70 to 200 millimeter is that option. If I'm casually on the go, a Sunday hike with my partner, or a random day going to the zoo, having something like the 70 to 200 millimeter actually gets in the way a little bit. And I'd much prefer having my kit lens. It gets me similar results that are good enough for casual use. Obviously, if you're trying to get the best image possible, or you have a gig and are doing this professionally, you want to go the route of Canon. You're going to get the best results that way. But if you're doing this more for passion, as a hobby, the kit lens is a fantastic option. And the Sigma is a perfect in between. The purpose of this video is not to pit all these 3 lenses against one another and say Canon is better than Sigma and better than their own kit lens. It is to show that there are options and think about what tool is right for the job in the moment that you're preparing for. We live in a fantastic time where there's an abundance of options. That's all from me. Once again, my name is Josue and I live in Chicago, the greatest city in the world. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.